With that being said, you big dummies, you getting paid now.
Everyone, and I mean literally everyone, in the basketball world is buzzing right now. This story has been building, twisting, and intensifying by the minute, and it has finally hit a full-on boiling point.
It's an opportunity to pull up their chair and have...
For what felt like forever, Cheryl Swoops has been on a relentless and honestly, almost bizarre, crusade against the WNBA's brightest new superstar, Caitlin Clark. She threw out wild, baseless claims, from insisting Clark was a 25-year-old playing against teenagers in college, to arguing her rookie season wasn't even good, to the most bewildering accusation of all, that no one actually wants to play with her. This non-stop barrage from Swoops felt endless, like it was never going to let up.
They will recognize, her game, but they won't recognize her impact.
Right.
How can you separate the two? It's kind of hard, right?
And I used, Jax, you're absolutely right. And I was like, come on, you.
But then the cavalry showed up. The legendary basketball great and Caitlin Clark's former coach. Cheryl Miller stepped into the spotlight with absolute authority. And when she entered the conversation, she didn't just throw a jab, she unleashed a devastating knockout on the All the Smoke podcast. She didn't just call out Swoop's comments, she obliterated them, dismantling every one of those wild myths surrounding Clark with precision, insight, and fire. Fans everywhere are buzzing with excitement as Miller firmly, confidently puts Swoop's narrative in its place. And here's the real twist. Miller's passionate defense of Caitlin Clark isn't just a clapback. It's sending a bold, unexpected signal about the direction the Indiana Fever might be heading. Something big feels like it's brewing.
Player of the Year, two-time national championship, two-time tournament MVP, first woman to dunk in an organized game, gold medalist. Thank you for making time. Welcome to the show, Cheryl Miller.
Now, before we dive into every sharp, commanding word Miller delivered, it's worth pausing for a moment. Have you ever truly wondered why a legendary figure like Cheryl Swoops has been so outspoken, so consistently critical when it comes to Caitlin Clark? It's a question that keeps bouncing around the basketball world, and it deserves a closer look. So let's rewind and take a full, sweeping look at this ongoing storyline. The unusual, persistent wave of critique Swoops has aimed at Clark, stretching all the way back to Clark's historic college run and continuing straight through her electric rookie year in the pros.
Also talk about how much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a...
It all kicked off when Swoops made comments about Clark's college career that fans immediately flagged as completely off base. In what many people still point to as her most head-scratching remark, Swoops suggested that Clark was a 25-year-old competing against much younger players during her dominant run at Iowa. But here's the factual reality. Clark was 22, playing in her fourth season, exactly like countless other senior athletes across the country. When the statement was later brought back to her, Swoops tried to clarify that she had been speaking loosely and referencing the unusual COVID year eligibility rules. But to a lot of fans, that explanation felt shaky and didn't really resolve the confusion her original comment created.
Right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Here we go.
I know you like that.
Hell yeah.
I said that because when she comes to the league, regardless of what team she goes to that has vets on that team.
But Swoops wasn't done, not even close. She stirred things up even further by suggesting that Clark was taking an outrageous 40 shot a game, a claim that instantly painted her as some kind of selfish volume shooter. But the numbers tell a very different story. Clark, the same record-breaking phenomenon the entire country was watching, averaged around 20 shots per game, a totally reasonable figure for a high-usage star. And here's where fans found the whole situation almost comically ironic. During Swoop's own senior season, she averaged 19.2 shots per game, barely 3 fewer than Clark. It was hard for people not to see that comparison and raise an eyebrow. Then, as Clark began closing in on the all-time NCAA scoring record, Swoops shifted gears again, implying that Clark would need a 5th year to reach that milestone. Of course, Clark went on to break the record without ever needing that extra year, something fans still bring up whenever the storyline resurfaces.
Caitlin, if you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player set it.
Okay.
Right? So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year, and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record?
And let's be crystal clear, that claim was once again completely off the mark. When Clark made her long-awaited leap into the WNBA, Swoops confidently predicted that she wouldn't be able to dominate the pros the way she did in college. But then reality hit. Clark stepped onto the professional stage and immediately began shattering rookie assist marks, showcasing her signature vision, unselfishness, and high-level playmaking. As her impact grew louder and louder, fans couldn't help noticing that Swoop's earlier comments quietly faded into the background. And here's the part that made the whole thing even more glaring to the public. Clark could have used the extra COVID eligibility year. She simply chose not to. The decision was hers, not forced by circumstance. From there, the numbers and performances spoke for themselves. Clark didn't just live up to the hype. She blew past it, delivering one of the most impressive rookie seasons in recent memory and firmly establishing herself as one of the league's brightest rising stars. By season's end, the doubts were gone, the critics were quiet, and Clark's success had taken center stage exactly the way fans expected it would.
I didn't say she wouldn't be good. What I said was I didn't think Caitlin or Angel would come into the league and dominate immediately, which I don't think either of them did.
Respectfully, there is absolutely no way, even when we're trying to sit here and play semantics about dominating, there's no way that anyone could ever leave this season in saying that both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese didn't dominate. You would have to further explain what dominance means for you to not sit here and say that a player who is leading the league in assists while averaging 19 to 20 points didn't dominate.
Perhaps the most revealing, and to many fans, the most confusing moment came during Swoop's appearance on Angel Reese's podcast. There, she continued offering pointed critiques of Clark, yet in the very same breath insisted she held no personal issue with her at all. To viewers, the contrast was hard to miss. It created one of those classic situations where the message and delivery seemed completely at odds, leaving fans shaking their heads and wondering what was really going on. For anyone paying close attention, the mixed signals were impossible to ignore.
Cheryl, since she was in college, I helped do her shoe deal with Nike in 1993, took her to her first SBs. I've known Cheryl, I've coached her, have a lot of respect for her. I called her when Caitlin was still playing at Iowa and she had just broken Maravich's record. And it was all over the place, as you and I have discussed, that there was this quote by Cheryl that said, Caitlin was, 25 years old. She was, however old, 24 years old. She was a fifth-year senior. Right. She was taking 40 shots a game. Her records were... As
the conversation kept escalating, the entire basketball world began picking up on the pattern, and fans everywhere started calling it out. The backlash grew so loud that networks took notice. Before long, Swoops was no longer on the broadcast for an Indiana Fever game, a shift many viewers immediately connected to the ongoing controversy. In her place stepped the iconic Nancy Lieberman, a legend in her own right, who brought a refreshing, straightforward voice to the booth. Fans appreciated how willing she was to push back on narratives she felt were misleading and to highlight Clark's impact with clarity and fairness. The contrast was impossible to miss, and it instantly became one of the most talked about broadcasting shakeups of the season.
Off the treadmill, and I called her as a friend, and I said, you can say whatever you want. You can have your own opinion about anybody, but you do have to get the statistics right. I mean, facts matter. And if you just get ahead of this and just say, hey, I made a mistake on my numbers, then this thing is over and everybody respects you for your opinion. And, you might like Boston. I might like the Yankees. It's okay to have difference of opinions. Well, she got upset with me on the phone. And I was like, Cheryl, I'm not doing anything to hurt you. I'm just sharing. We're talking. And so our relationship, it pretty much is not happening at this point. I tried to talk to her at the Final Four. Right. She didn't want to talk to me. My life's going to be good were great with or without Cheryl.
So when Cheryl Miller, a true titan of sport, stepped into the All the Smoke podcast studio and unleashed pure fire in defense of Caitlin Clark, the entire basketball world felt the shift. It was like a collective exhale. At last, someone with unquestioned credibility, experience, and a deep understanding of the game had entered the often chaotic conversation surrounding Clark. And the impact was immediate, because when a legend, someone who's actually coached Clark, studied her game, and understands her mentality inside and out, finally decides she's had enough of the noise, the result is electric. What followed was one of the most authentic, passionate, and well-informed defenses women's basketball has seen in years. It wasn't just commentary. It was a moment, a statement, a turning point.
Jax, you're absolutely right. And I was like, come on, you big dummies. Is she getting hyped? Yes.
Yeah.
But she was in the backyard. She was putting in the...
And she didn't hold back, declaring at one point, sometimes, maybe more than you were right. This wasn't some casual remark. It was a powerful statement, a direct call out to the critics, making it abundantly clear that their stories were not just wrong, but fundamentally misguided, while subtly revealing a deeper truth they had refused to acknowledge.